Powered by passion, it's National Auto Care's Fixed Ops 5 with your host, National Fixed Operations Training Manager, Corey Smith.
Welcome to Fixed Ops 5. I'm your host, Corey Smith, National Fixed Operations Training Manager with National Auto Care. Today, I'm being joined by Dan Beakey, Service Manager in New England. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Did I get your last name right? Was that correct?
Nailed it.
Yes. I worked really hard on that.
Many others have failed.
Good. I went to the top of the class. So, Dan, tell us a little bit about you, where you started, and what got you to this point of being a service manager.
Well, I've been in the business for about 22 years. Almost all of it has been in the fixed op side. And almost all of it has been in New England. I started out as a car salesman that lasted about 3 months, and I ended up begging to be in service. And luckily, somebody was able to actually have a position open for me and accommodated that. I've been in fixed ops ever since. And obviously went up the normal route, started as a service advisor and so on. And the last 10 years or so have been on the management side. I did run an independent shop out in the Pacific Northwest, which was great because it actually, I almost think I learned more about the business working at the independent shop than I did at a dealer, because I was forced to see things on a more microscopic level, like the true cost of running the industry and all the things that go into the day-to-day operations that they really don't share with you, even when you're a service manager at a dealership sometimes. This place does, but at my previous place, they really didn't share that with you. And it really solidified the true cost of running the business and all the things that are necessary to keep the business running day to day and keep the lights on and the heat on and all that. And it really helped me understand, the true value of having to account for all the time that the technicians spend and the parts margins and so on. And it made me a, much better manager, in my opinion. But I've since moved back. I'm in New England, as you said. And I'm running a Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram store in beautiful Dartmouth, Massachusetts, where I've been for about 2.5 years. Right now.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you, a fellow New Englander. I'm a New Englander as well, so it's nice to talk shop, if you will. So this episode's really about the state of technicians, and I know you're very passionate when it comes to technicians, and this episode was really tailor-made for you. So let's just jump right into the episode. How can dealers get more technicians?
It's a hard question to answer, to be honest, and I'd be a liar if I told you I had the answer already. If I did, I'd be sharing it with literally everybody. It's not something that would hold, because it's a major problem, and it's not just a problem I need to fix in my dealership. It's a problem that the industry is facing that I fear and kind of know that it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. But I do have confidence and optimism that we're going to get out of this, but maybe only because we have to, because who else will work on vehicles? I think one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest points of failures is we don't grow our own technicians. We hire an hourly, guy or girl for oil changes. We let them do, an occasional brake job, but we don't really send them to training and try to actually groom that technician to a level B tech or level A tech, or however it's worded with the manufacturer at hand. So, we have a very bad habit of just hiring an hourly technician, and we just view them as an hourly technician, and they just remain stagnant in that position. And as we continue to seek those B and A technicians who really aren't knocking down our door anymore, like they may have been back in the past if we were lucky. And, that's one way that we can get out of it. And another thing that we need to seriously consider is that this is going to be, with EV coming, this is going to be a totally different breed of technician. Mm-hmm. We have, especially a layman, they view mechanics and technicians as, a burly grease monkey of sorts. And the next wave of technicians that are capable of working on electric vehicles, they're going to be people that look like they're from the Big Bang Theory, for all we know. They're going to be a totally different breed of person. And, we need to seek other industries or people that are in, IT schools or something along those lines. We need to think outside the box. And ultimately, I think the best step is to have conversations like you and I are having, and have conversations with all the biggest, best minds across the industry, and really work it out amongst each other. Because, to be honest, the manufacturers aren't really offering much assistance. We're lucky if they're even acknowledging that it's as big of a problem as it is. So, for now, I feel like we're on our own, and we have, we shouldn't be responsible for figuring this out without the support of the manufacturer, but it's kind of the way it seems to be going. So it's going to take, the Gene Gertleys, the Teddings, the Dave Foys, all these people who you see on LinkedIn who have a lot of influence and a lot of knowledge. We're going to have to kind of figure this out amongst each other.
Yeah. I mean, you posed some really good points on that question, is looking outside the box. You're right. You're not going to have the typical grease monkey anymore, because things are changing. Like you said, EV is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's not going anywhere, right? So with that, do we have to accommodate those people to really promote, to get them into your dealership? And do you have to change what your shop looks like, right? I mean, there's a we're always taking the front face of the dealership and making it look like the Taj Mahal and getting, the nice big comfy chairs for the customers, but we don't often think about the technicians. We want to make sure they have, the right tools from the manufacturer, a training like you talked about. But do we have to change the way the inside of the shop looks like, than what it looks like right now?
We shouldn't have to wait until it's a manufacturer requirement. It's going to take forward thinking. And, I'm not telling you that I have my shop set up capable to work on nothing but EVs. I mean, very few people do, if any. But, at least it's on my mind, and it's got to be on everybody's mind, because like you said, it's not going anywhere. And the only thing that is going to go somewhere for sure is the internal combustion engine. So, I never thought I'd live to see that day. It's just, these times that I'm in now are not the times that I got into the business in, and I didn't have the foresight to see that coming. And but it's coming, and I think it's hitting us all a lot sooner than we thought. And even without that coming, we're facing a massive technician shortage that is entirely unrelated to EV coming on board. It's that's a mess that we partially created ourselves, and whatever elements of it we didn't create, we might have ignored, until it got as bad as it did. But it's going to force us to learn how to deal with it, and it's going to force us to face the problems that led up to it, which essentially will pave way for a better future. But it's going to take.
I think you're right. I think EV might make it better, because if it stayed the way it is right now, we'd be in a bigger crunch. Now with at least EV, you have a person that I'm great at breaking things, anything, everything, motor, computers, whatever. I'm not the fix it kind of person. Don't have it built into me, right? But that person, like you said, that's at an IT school that may not want to sit at a cubicle or really likes these EVs and understands the body and can learn, and we can train them on that kind of stuff. Now you've got a different avenue to get a technician that is going to be just your EV technician, and it might take a little worry off the veteran that's been around for 20 years that is scared to death of EV or computers, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's going to be a few of these, as we said, old school grease monkeys, these people who started back in the days of carbureted engines. There's going to be a few of them that actually are able to pick up and adopt the knowledge that is needed to fix an EV. But, those are going to be few and far between. It's going to be two separate types of technicians that are coexisting for a little while, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I like that. So that leads me to my next question is, how do we keep the ones that we currently have? Right? What do you see? What are you doing in your dealership, and what are you seeing as an industry that other dealerships are doing to really keep the ones that they have?
I don't think it's all about money. It's like, I don't know if you're familiar with Wrenchway, but if you sign up for Wrenchway, they have a thing called reverse job posts, where you actually basically apply for the technician. So it's completely reverse order, and the technician is protected by anonymity until they decide that they want to release their identity to you if they like what they're hearing. And you read these technicians and their stories and what they're unhappy with at their current dealership, and it's not all money. Some of them I've actually have heard say, I don't want to, but I would be willing to take a little bit of a pay cut. But they're upset that they're working in shops where the parts department is fighting with the service department. There's all these, interdepartmental infighting. They're upset with the fact that there's, 2 or 3 technicians that sit there and watch Netflix for 4 hours, and then they get up and demand gravy jobs, or else they're going to go home. And, they just don't want poorly run shops more than anything. Of course, everybody in this industry wants as much money as they can have. We spend more time with each other than we do our own families in quite a lot of cases. So of course you want to maximize that financially to the best of your ability. But I think the biggest mistake is that we figured money was the only motivator for technicians.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying just a monthly pizza party is going to fix everything. Obviously, everyone's going to eat the pizza, and pizza party is great, but it takes more than that. I think different people are motivated in different ways, especially these younger generations. I think some of the older generations might have been strictly motivated by money, at least, predominantly, but some of the younger generations are more influenced with time off with their friends or family, and some of them are more motivated with recognition and pats on the back. So you got to kind of figure out what makes each individual technician tick, and you got to reward them in the way that they're asking for, as long as the manner that they're asking is something reasonable, something
Right.
that's doable.
Yeah,
And
if they're asking for their name to be put on the dealership sign, that's probably not going to happen.
that's a tough one. But I think the biggest mistake is that we as managers got lazy. We just figured we could throw money at every single problem, and that the problems would go away, or at least not make it to our desk. And look where it got us. Back in the day, there were technicians coming in on a weekly basis with 10, 15, 20 years experience, and they were just a little ticked off at their current service manager, so they were willing to start with me on Monday, and that is never going to happen. It's probably not going to happen for a long time, if it ever happens again.
Yeah. So if I hear you correctly, it's process, it's culture, and it's really finding out what their love language is, if you will, of how they want to be at their next job. That they want what they're looking for is an experience, a day off, or a pat on the back for a good job, right? Those are.
They just want to be treated like humans. For a long time, they were treated like they were a dime a dozen. And I don't think I ever personally treated like techs like that. I've always appreciated techs. I think I've always been a little more on the tech side than another side of the dealership. I think that was just my nature. But a lot of like dealer principals, especially ones that were kind of weren't involved in the day-to-day operations, like a more investment type owner, I don't think they saw the value in a tech across the board. I think they felt like if they lost a couple of A techs, no matter how good they were, another one would come along, and maybe that was the case back in the day, but it's not anymore. And they just want to be treated like human beings. I want to be treated like a human being. It's
Right.
it's just,
I think that's reasonable, right?
Yeah, I think and more so now than ever before. It's people aren't going to put up with that crap anymore. I think people put up with a lot more back in the day, and these younger generations have demanded more humane treatment, and it's made even the older generations, like a dinosaur like myself, realize these people are right. But it's because that's how I would want to be treated, and I understand where they're coming from 100%.
So you kind of pose a really good topic on that work environment. What do you think technicians are truly looking for from across the board, from your veteran technician, well, quote unquote, grease monkey, to the new technician that is all about the tech and the IT versions of the vehicles and all these sensors and body moldings and all that stuff? What does the work environment need to look like for them in order for them to coexist?
I think technicians want a clean shop. They want a shop that they know where, if they need a specialty tool, which is going to happen more and more, that it's going to be there, that it's not going to be broken, that if somebody does break a specialty tool, they don't need to be held accountable for it, but they need to be held accountable for letting the manager know, like, hey, this tool broke, we need another one. Sorry. So that the next time you need it, it's there. They want reliability in their check. I wouldn't want to drive to work every Monday and have no idea what I'm going to make that week. That's a really bad feeling. People don't work to the best of their ability when they're living in anxiety. And obviously I have a commission base in what I get paid. Of course, there's a commission element to it. I'm a service manager. That's it's no secret, but I still have a salary that I can rely on. So there's still some consistency that I know that I can fall back on if it's a good month, if it's a bad month, or anywhere in between. And some of these completely flat rate technicians, they have no idea what that week's going to be, because I've seen these techs work twice as hard, make half as much, and then some week where they really didn't feel like they did all that much, they made a killing, just because of the luck of the draw of the jobs and what those jobs pay. And I find myself quite often, honestly, paying technicians more than what the warranty's going to pay at my own expense and at my general manager's own expense, just because I can't look these techs in the eye and pay them what Chrysler is telling me it takes, because Chrysler's not going to come down and do these jobs for the time that they're paying. There's nobody that's kind of shown me that can be done. They decided under perfect circumstances that a job could take a certain amount of time. and they just stick to those guns. And I can't do it every time, but when I know that it's just wrong, I have to take a little bit of that hit, because a little bit of that hit's gonna be a lot less impactful than it will be for the individual that's working on it.
Yeah, and you could possibly lose a tech. So is it worth paying them 1.5 when realistically you would feel more comfortable paying another half an hour? That's going to make them happier, because if you keep paying them the 1.5 and they're like, you know what, this isn't worth it, I'm going to look for something else. Right. So that's a better investment of your dollar.
Yep.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
So wrapping this up in a bow, Dan, what are 3 good takeaways from this episode that a service advisor, a manager that's in your position, an outside vendor, someone at the leadership team at a dealership, an owner, can really take away from this episode?
I think one of the most important things is to get on LinkedIn, or if you don't like LinkedIn, get on another social media platform. Talk to technicians around the country, because your own technicians won't always tell you exactly how they're feeling, because sometimes it's difficult to be vulnerable eye to eye with somebody. But a technician in Montana will have no problem telling a service manager in Ohio how he feels, and how he feels he's getting gypped, or how he feels the industry could be better. And sometimes those people have the best ideas. And it's just important to see what other technicians are going through and what other service managers are going through. So it's very important to talk to these people and figure out how they're getting around problems. I think another important thing is that people need to get on their manufacturers to acknowledge the technician shortage and to actually do something about it, because it really shouldn't be our sole responsibility as a completely unrelated group of service managers or directors to handle this on our own. The thing that unifies us is the manufacturer that we all work for, and they really need to step up. It's my manufacturer was just offering a trip in Orlando where you get to meet with vendors and talk about customer retention and how to increase profits. There's no mention in how it was advertised about what to do about the technician shortage. That's the biggest problem we're facing. Customer retention is hugely important, but what's going to happen if I master retention and figure out all these great ways to maintain the bottom line? I'm going to have more retained customers that I can't get into the shop because I don't have technicians to work on. So let's work on that first, and then we can figure out how to make a boatload of money, because none of it's going to matter. I can master every sales technique in the book. None of it's going to matter if there's no technicians in the shop. I can't go out there and fix cars. I tell my guys that all the time. I could do my wife's oil change, and most of the time I can do it right, but I can't go out there and work on cars. And when EVs come, you definitely don't want me working on cars. So we got to figure the technician shortage out first, and the manufacturers have to step up, because none of them that I'm privy to have been. And and I don't mean to dog on them, but it's a call to them that they need to listen, and they need to acknowledge that this is an issue, because ignoring this problem is only going to make it worse. It's gotten us to where we are today.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was 2 things or 3 things.
I think those are very important things. So I really enjoy your takeaways on this episode. If you want to deliver a legendary customer experience that keeps the customer coming back to you and encouraging them to invite their friends and family into your establishment, then you've caught the gold standard customer service vision. Do you want a more cohesive team that delivers a higher level of customer service that will result in more revenue for your dealership? We provide the tools, knowledge, training needed to unlock the potential of your dealership. For more information on this topic and others, or to submit a question or to be a guest on the show, feel free to send me an email at csmith@nationalautocare.com. Dan, that's all the time that we have for today. I want to thank you for being a guest on this episode. And I'll end like I do with every episode. Will you please come back?
I will absolutely come back. Thank you.
Thank you for watching and listening to National Auto Care's Fixed Ops 5 with Corey Smith, powered by Passion. Be sure to watch and listen to the next episode on the 5th and 20th of every month.